Kerry Morgan was Cassie Ventura's former best friend, Kerry Morgan. She described witnessing Combs assaulting Cassie twice.
Cassie for 17 years, but things went sour after she alleged that Diddy beat her with a wooden coat hanger and she signed an NDA.
Performed a single act in court that caused Diddy to lose complete cool. You won't believe what got him going when Kerry Morgan, Cassie's so-called best friend, testified Cassie Ventura's ex-best friend.
Cassie Ventura's former best friend, Kerry Morgan. She described witnessing Combs assaulting Cassie twice, the first time in a home Combs was renting in the Hollywood Hills. Morgan testified that, quote, "I saw him push her. I'm pretty sure he hit her." The second time allegedly happened in Jamaica. Morgan says they were in the bar area of a home when, quote, "I heard her screaming." She recalled guttural, terrifying screams. Combs faces the possibility of life in prison if convicted. He's pleaded not guilty and has denied all wrongdoing.
The courtroom was abuzz with hushed words and paper shuffling, as all settled in for what they believed would be another day in court. The mood wasn't quite on edge yet, but there was an unmistakable weight hanging in the air. Diddy sat at his table calm, slouching slightly in his chair, his legal staff to his side scrolling through notes, and looking convinced, as if they'd already got the day planned out. The media reporters sitting behind the courtroom barriers murmured between themselves, cameras at the ready to grab something even slightly interesting. And then, to the surprise of everyone,
Kerry Morgan was on the stand. That was Cassie Ventura's former best friend. What did Kerry say happened after that incident?
Cassie Ventura left the Intercontinental Hotel, went back to her apartment, her home, and there was Kerry Morgan waiting. She said immediately she saw the black eye that Ventura had testified Combs gave her after the freak-off got violent, and the whole reason why then the subsequent assault in the hallway happened. And then Kerry Morgan said about a half hour later, Sean Combs starts banging on the door with a hammer. It was not let in, but she said she heard him yelling, finally called some of Combs' staff members to try to get him to leave. Police were called, but Cassie Ventura said, and Kerry Morgan backed this up, that nothing ever came of it because Cassie Ventura refused to say anything about Sean Combs and what happened to her.
Aaron, I have to ask you, because Combs was sitting just feet away from Don Richard and Kerry Morgan in court today. How did he react to seeing them and hearing all of this?
He's been an attentive listener. In some cases, he would shake his head or nod along or consult with his lawyers, scribbling a lot of notes. This was an important part of the testimony because it made a turn, Eva. The jury had heard from Cassie Ventura directly about, in rather explicit terms, a lot of the sex acts. But the prosecution's whole case is that she was coerced into that sex because of the violence, the kind of violence that both Don Richard and Kerry Morgan said they witnessed. Now, the defense says there are other reasons for the violence. Jealousy, drugs, didn't have anything to do with coercing her into sex. But the prosecutors want the jury to hear these accounts to say that Cassie Ventura was not only telling the truth about being beat up, but that she had reason to then go along with Sean Combs' sexual demands.
Kerry Morgan is not a name you'd know, but in this instance, she's one of the most pivotal voices as Cassie's best friend. Kerry has stepped forward not only to defend her, but as a vital witness whose evidence might turn the whole case around. You have to wonder, what does she know that the rest of them don't? What makes what she has to say so powerful that it shook Diddy to his very foundations? These are questions people are asking because they're curious, but these are also key questions to answering why this trial turned out the way that it did. Let's take a step back. Kerry Morgan and Cassie go back much further than the cameras in the courtroom. By all accounts, the friendship these two share is one built on years of trust and shared experience. Friends who knew both women intimately have characterized Kerry as fiercely devoted to Cassie, someone who stuck by her side thick and thin. And why is this significant? Because if anyone has hung around long enough to know what transpired behind closed doors, it's Kerry. Her proximity to Cassie over time makes what she has to say not just another account, but a first-hand description of what Cassie went through. Kerry's own credibility isn't just linked to long-time friendship with Cassie. She's also someone characterized as thoughtful, measured, and not the kind of person to speak unless
You already mentioned the second witness today, Cassie Ventura's former best friend, Kerry Morgan. What did Kerry have to say?
So let me tell you, Kerry Morgan is crucial, and she came crucial because she comes off as credible. Because one of the first statements that she made is that she came here because she was compelled to testify. She no longer speaks to Cassie Ventura. They stopped talking in 2018 after this incident having to deal with where she was assaulted by Sean Combs, where Sean Combs grabbed her by the neck and also threw a wooden hanger at her, but also that it led to Cassie giving her $30,000 so she wouldn't say anything about that specific incident, and that was the end of their relationship. She also corroborated 2 of the assaults that took place, having to deal with Cassie in terms of her being drugged and as well as her being punched. So she corroborated a lot of the testimony, but she came off as a neutral witness, and the defense wasn't able to break her as they wanted to, but was able to say that, look, it was still a loving relationship.
She's positive as a pin about her words. A source familiar with the case even called her someone who doesn't do drama, and so her decision to testify all the more intriguing. She wasn't pulled unwillingly into the glare of the spotlight. She volunteered knowing full well the responsibility of her role in uncovering the truth. But let's get to the question of greater import. What does Kerry really know? According to reports, Carr's testimony isn't hearsay or general impressions. She asserts she directly witnessed or was told about pivotal instances of abuse during Cassie's highly publicized yet stormy relationship with Diddy. One news outlet called her the piece of the puzzle nobody saw coming and emphasized the magnitude of weight her words carry within this trial. While the specific details of her allegations weren't immediately divulged prior to her testimony, what is evident is that she's not holding anything back. She reportedly gave insight into patterns of control manipulation and episodes of harm that, if established, could significantly turn the case in Cassie's favor. What also distinguishes Kerry is her willingness to defy someone as influential and powerful as Diddy. It's not simple to defy a global icon in a public courtroom. Almost everyone following the case has noted the sheer bravery it takes to come forward, particularly knowing the tremendous legal resources.
And I will say, I think she seemed to say things very matter of fact. There were definitely moments where there was a little bit of what I would call sass, which I didn't think was a bad thing. I think she represented herself very well, and I felt as I read what was being said, she seems like a very credible witness. I think this is going to be one that may stick out in the jury's mind because she was subpoenaed to be here. She is speaking in defense of Cassie, but at the same time, she was also very hurt by Cassie.
Yeah.
And the way that it all came out was very honest. So it's definitely an interesting one to go through.
Yeah, I mean, she's giving a perspective that it feels more like, I don't give a crap about any of these people, so I'm going to give it to you straight. I've moved on from all this, but let's go do it. And not really throwing Cassie under the bus in any way, but
no,
clearly doing it more honestly. So, so she made it clear she was only there because of the subpoena. And she confirmed that she and Cassie, who met on a modeling shoot as teenagers, no longer speak because Ventura's boyfriend ate her. Now, was this Agnifilo? The Costco lawyer did end up doing this or not?
Yes, Mark Agnifilo, or as we lovingly call him, the Costco lawyer.
Because it's just funny, because there's this buildup of he's finally going to do something during this trial. It was our first chance to see Costco lawyer step up to the stand, Kim, right? So
we'll get
as
there.
we go through, let's see how he does, yeah?
Yeah. It was fascinating.
Diddy has at his disposal, this isn't someone who's seeking attention. Carr's statement implies she's willing to go after justice for her friend, no matter the personal cost. And that makes her testimony impossible to ignore. So here's where we are. Kerry Morgan has teased out information that no one else could offer, information that paints a disturbing picture of what allegedly occurred. But the question remains, what did she in fact say on the stand that sent shockwaves through the courtroom? That's the part nobody saw coming. And trust me, the allegations are explosive. Let's dissect exactly what was uncovered and why it left everyone, including Diddy, reeling. Kerry Morgan's testimony wasn't just another step in the trial. It was the moment that flipped everything on its head. From the moment she sat down, there was an unmistakable shift in the room. This wasn't just any testimony. It was the one people had been waiting for, or in Diddy's case, dreading. The buzz outside the courtroom beforehand confirmed it. Her presence was highly anticipated. And when she began to speak, it became immediately obvious why what Kerry had to say wasn't just shocking, it was devastating. The allegations came out slowly, but each word seemed to carry more weight than the last. Kerry started by describing years of behavior.
You two were best friends for 18 years, but now you haven't spoken with her since 2018. That's true. At the danger of being capital obvious, that's a long time. She's moved on. Objection. Why haven't you spoken with her? She did not support me after Sean assaulted me. I try that line at assault. I don't know what that means. Oh, I think it means I set the line at assault. I don't cross the line of assault or whatever. You reached a settlement with Miss Ventura? The money came from Mr. Combs. So this was after, I believe, she was assaulted by Diddy, that that in order to hush her up, Diddy gave her some money, or they settled it, however it is. That's a pattern that seems to be happening with him throughout the decades. So Agnifilo shows Kerry Morgan photos, then asks, do you know if Louise Hayes is a self-help author about self-affirmation? Yes. Why did you send him this with words of encouragement? I don't remember sending it. Okay. I want to show you a few more photos. But first, let's talk about the incident where he put his hands on your neck. Were you and Cassie using any drugs at the time? No. What did he say? He said, who is she cheating with? You went to an urgent care and not the hospital, right? Like she's saying just right as the answer. But you don't the prosecutors. Oh, but you told the prosecutors it was bloody and you went to the hospital. I don't remember that. Look at this. And so this is material not shown to the jury. I see that I said that. Now in this, I think it's like now in cross-examination. I'm not sure what that means. Okay. I see that I said that. Do you remember Mr. Agnifilo asking you about an incident in LA? Objection, overruled. And he hit her like in Jamaica, arguing. Oh, okay. That's what it is. Okay. I'm sorry. Let me go back. So they were doing right here. Agnifilo is Diddy's attorney. That's why I wasn't understanding. So they did the cross. All right. So now this is the prosecutors again asking her questions. They get to come back up. So that's who's asking. That's just like, why is Agnifilo asking a question about himself?
She says she witnessed firsthand. She painted a picture of a relationship that wasn't just toxic, but dangerous. She talked about moments of control, manipulation, and abuse that Cassie allegedly endured at the hands of Diddy. But what stopped everyone in their tracks was the way she described one chilling incident after another. According to Kerry, there were moments where physical violence wasn't just a possibility, it was real. She claimed to have seen bruises on Cassie more than once, and even recounted specific moments where Diddy's temper exploded with terrifying consequences. But the allegations didn't stop at physical abuse. Kerry talked about psychological manipulation, saying that Diddy often wielded his power and influence to keep Cassie under his thumb. One of the most jaw-dropping moments came when Kerry alleged that Diddy would isolate Cassie from friends and family, even going as far as monitoring her calls and texts to maintain control over her life. According to her, this wasn't just about a bad breakup or a tumultuous relationship. It was something much darker. If that wasn't enough, Kerry didn't hold back. When it came to specific claims, she referenced one night in particular that left the courtroom stunned into silence. While she didn't share every detail, what she revealed was enough to leave an impact. She described a moment where Cassie allegedly called her in fear, saying Diddy's anger had reached a breaking point. Kerry claimed she had to step in and physically intervene, an action she said could have escalated the situation further if things had gone wrong. The courtroom reaction was immediate. Audible gasps rippled through the room, and at one point the judge had to ask the gallery to settle down. Diddy's legal team exchanged frantic looks as Kerry's statements grew more explosive, but it was Diddy himself who couldn't seem to take it anymore. When Kerry directly implicated him in an incident of violence, reportedly saying that he couldn't be stopped, that's when Diddy lost it. He muttered something under his breath and slapped his hand on the table so loudly it echoed. Witnesses described it as a simmering rage, finally boiling over. The judge had to pause proceedings for several minutes as Diddy's outburst made it difficult to keep control of the room. As shocking as Kerry's statements were, one question dominated everyone's thoughts: how would Diddy's team respond to these bombshell allegations? Would they address her claims head-on, or attempt to discredit her entirely. What unfolded next would only add more drama to an already chaotic trial. Diddy's legal team wasted no time after Kerry Morgan's explosive testimony. The moment court reconvened, they sprang into action, determined to regain control of the narrative. It was clear from the start that they weren't planning to take her claims at face value. Their strategy undermined Kerry's credibility and plant seeds of doubt about the validity of her allegations. The defense wasn't just building a counterargument, they were working to dismantle her entire role in this case. The first step of their approach became obvious during cross-examination. Diddy's lawyers focused on Carr's relationship with Cassie, hinting that her testimony may have been biased due to their close bond. Would you say you've always taken Cassie's side, no matter the situation? One lawyer reportedly asked, trying to frame Kerry as someone too emotionally involved. To provide an objective account, they doubled down by claiming that her loyalty to Cassie could have influenced her recollection of events. According to those present in the courtroom, it was a calculated move designed to make the jury question whether Carr's perspective was rooted in truth or just blind allegiance. But the grilling didn't stop there. Diddy's lawyers began dissecting the timeline of Carr's allegations, asking pointed questions about key moments she mentioned during her testimony. Isn't it true that you weren't physically present for all of these incidents? One lawyer pressed, attempting to highlight gaps in her story. The defense was clearly looking for inconsistencies, anything they could use to create doubt about the reliability of her statements. And when Carr's tone remained steady and her answers unwavering, they pivoted to a new tactic, questioning her motives. Throughout their cross-examination, the defense built up the suggestion that Kerry had something to gain by testifying. At one point, they implied that her decision to come forward was influenced by her own personal grievances with Diddy rather than a genuine commitment to the truth. Would you describe your relationship with Mr. Combs as positive before this? One attorney asked, leading into a line of questioning that insinuated Kerry might have her own reasons for wanting to damage Diddy's reputation. The implication was subtle, but hard to miss. Maybe Kerry wasn't just a witness, but an active player in a campaign against him. The back and forth between Kerry and Diddy's legal team grew so pointed that the judge had to step in multiple times to keep things on track.